February 3rd, 1890. 6:15 a.m. Main Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The temperature reads 8 below zero. Otto Schmidt stands beside his steam-powered snowplow, breath crystallizing in the pre-dawn darkness. Across the snow-packed avenue, 50 yards distant, Leslie Hammond adjusts the leather harness connecting 6 draft horses to his mechanical blade. Neither man acknowledges the other. They haven't spoken in 14 months. The crowd begins gathering before sunrise. By 7 o'clock, an estimated 3,000 Minneapolis residents line both sides of Main Street, stamping feet against the cold, wagering money they don't have. Time equals 300 milliseconds on a contest that shouldn't matter this much. But it does, because whoever wins today doesn't just claim superiority in snowplow design. They win the contract to clear every major street in Minneapolis for the next 5 years. 42 miles of roadway, $12,000 annually. The Minneapolis City Council stands on a wooden platform constructed specifically for this occasion. Mayor George Pillsbury, no relation to the Flower family, checks his pocket watch. At precisely 7:30 a.m., he raises a starting pistol toward the grey winter sky. The winter of 1889 to 90 dumps unprecedented snow on the upper Midwest. Minneapolis receives 73 inches between November and February. The city's population has exploded to 165,000 residents, triple what it was a decade earlier. Flour mills, timber yards and grain elevators operate around the clock. Commerce cannot stop for weather. But the streets become impassable. Horse-drawn wagons sink to their axles. Streetcars halt mid-route, stranded passengers walking miles through drifts that reach second-story windows. The city's existing snow removal system, hired laborers with shovels and horse-drawn scrapers, proves utterly inadequate. On January 14th, 3 children freeze to death trying to walk home from school. Time equals 600 milliseconds. The Minneapolis Tribune runs their photographs under a single headline, "The Price of Inaction." The City Council issues an emergency procurement notice. They want innovative solutions, mechanical solutions, solutions that don't rely on armies of exhausted men wielding shovels in sub-zero temperatures. 47 proposals arrive. Most are sketches of impractical contraptions, steam-powered blowers that would melt as much as move snow, elaborate auger systems requiring infrastructure the city doesn't possess. 2 proposals stand apart. 2 inventors who've each invested everything, their savings, their reputations, their futures into machines they absolutely believe will work. Otto Schmidt, 42 years old, immigrated from Hamburg in 1871. Trained as a mechanical engineer, he spent 15 years designing agricultural equipment before turning his attention to winter's oldest problem. His steam-powered plow weighs 4,200 pounds, runs on a coal-fired boiler, and features a rotating blade system that cuts through packed snow like a riverboat paddle wheel through water. He's tested it on rural roads outside the city. It works. But it's never cleared an urban street under public scrutiny. Leslie Hammond grew up in Vermont, where snow defines existence 6 months each year. Time equals 550 milliseconds greater than. At 38, he's spent his entire adult life studying the mechanics of snow removal. His design rejects steam power entirely. Too temperamental in extreme cold, he argues, too dangerous. Instead, Hammond engineered a horse-drawn system using 6 percherons in tandem formation, pulling an angled steel blade that doesn't fight the snow but redirects it, using the fundamental physics of the wedge. Simple, reliable. No boiler that might fail, no coal that might freeze. The men have never met before submitting their proposals, but they've studied each other's designs obsessively since the council announced the finalists. Each believes the other's approach fundamentally flawed. Mayor Pillsbury fires the pistol. Schmidt's boiler has been heating since 4 a.m. He releases the brake, engages the drive mechanism, and the machine lurches forward with a metallic groan. Steam vents from relief valves. The rotating blades begin spinning, biting into the 18-inch snowpack that Main Street has accumulated over 3 weeks of deliberate neglect. The council wanted authentic conditions for testing. The crowd presses closer. Mechanics crane their necks to observe the blade system. Businessmen calculate operational costs. The machine advances at roughly 2 miles per hour, pushing a wall of snow to both sides of the street. The blades churn efficiently. Schmidt maintains steady pressure on the throttle, carefully managing steam pressure to prevent the boiler from redlining in the frigid air. Then, 60 feet into the run, the left blade catches something beneath the snow. A drainage grate, later investigation reveals. The blade shears from its mounting with a sound like a gunshot. The entire mechanism seizes. Schmidt kills the steam immediately, but momentum carries the machine forward another 10 feet before stopping. Snow avalanches back into the cleared path. The crowd falls silent. Hammond doesn't wait for Schmidt to attempt repairs. He signals his lead driver. The Percherons lean into their harness. The blade bites snow. What happens next demonstrates the difference between theoretical engineering and practical experience. Hammond's horses move at walking speed, slower than Schmidt's machine, but they never stop. The angled blade doesn't attempt to lift or throw snow, it simply slides the mass to one side, using the street's natural camber to assist gravity. The horses work in perfect coordination, trained specifically for this task over 18 months of preparation. The blade clears a path 12 feet wide. Clean pavement appears behind the moving formation. Hammond rides alongside on horseback, occasionally adjusting the blade angle for varying snow depths. The Percherons breathe steady clouds of vapor. Their hooves find purchase on ice that would send mechanical treads spinning. They complete the entire demonstration route, 3 city blocks, in 11 minutes. The cleared path remains clear. No mechanical failure, no hesitation, just 6 horses, 1 blade, and physics. The city council doesn't announce their verdict immediately. They retire to deliberate while Schmidt frantically attempts repairs. He replaces the damaged blade in 40 minutes, impressive mechanical work under pressure, and requests permission for a second attempt. Council President James Brown faces an impossible calculation. Schmidt's machine, when functioning, clears snow faster than Hammond's horses. The operational cost per mile favors steam power once initial capital investment is recovered. But reliability matters. Minneapolis cannot afford equipment failures during blizzards that threaten lives. The crowd grows restless. Bookmakers settle some bets, hold others pending official announcement. Newspaper reporters interview spectators, seeking human interest angles. The Minneapolis Journal's correspondent speaks with a streetcar conductor who watched 3 days ago as his passengers walked away through drifts, abandoning the useless vehicle. At 9:47 a.m., the council reaches consensus. They award the contract to Leslie Hammond. The decision triggers immediate controversy. Engineering societies across the region protest. The American Society of Mechanical Engineers issues a statement calling the verdict a triumph of antiquated methods over innovative technology. Schmidt's supporters argue that a single mechanical failure shouldn't disqualify superior design. They're not entirely wrong. But the council's reasoning proves sound. Hammond's system operates successfully throughout the brutal remainder of the 1889-90 winter. Time equals 600 milliseconds / his crews clear Minneapolis streets after every significant snowfall. 0 mechanical failures. 0 delays due to equipment breakdown. The horses work in rotating shifts, never overstressed, always reliable. Schmidt never builds another snowplow. He returns to agricultural equipment design, eventually patenting a wheat thresher that revolutionizes harvest efficiency across the Great Plains. He dies in 1907, successful and respected, though the Minneapolis contract always remains a wound that never quite heals. Hammond operates his snow removal service for 23 years. He expands to St. Paul, Duluth, and eventually employs 47 teams of horses, clearing streets across Minnesota and Wisconsin. He retires in 1913, The same year, internal combustion tractors finally render horse-drawn equipment obsolete. The story shouldn't end with Hammond's victory, because within a decade, both men's approaches become historical footnotes. Motorized trucks equipped with front-mounted plows replace horses by 1920. Steam power, which Schmidt championed, enjoys a brief renaissance before diesel engines prove superior in every measurable way. But in February 1890, standing on Main Street in 8-degree cold, watching two men stake everything on competing visions of progress, time equals 600 milliseconds greater than 3,000 Minneapolis residents witnessed something more fundamental than a snowplow competition. They watched the eternal tension between innovation and reliability, between what's theoretically superior and what actually works when failure means death. Schmidt's machine represented the future everyone expected: mechanization, steam power, industrial progress. Hammond's horses represented the past everyone thought they were leaving behind. That the past won says something about timing, about technology's uneven advancement, about the gap between what's possible and what's practical. The children who froze on January 14th never cared which system cleared the streets. Time equals 550 milliseconds / They needed someone, anyone, to solve a problem that killed them. The public snowplow battle of 1890 wasn't really about Otto Schmidt versus Leslie Hammond. It was about a city demanding solutions, while two inventors fought for the privilege of providing them. Main Street still runs through downtown Minneapolis. It's called Hennepin Avenue now. 12 lanes of asphalt, automated snowplows with GPS navigation, and pre-treated surfaces. The street hasn't killed anyone from snow accumulation in over a century. But somewhere in municipal archives, filed under Public Demonstrations 1890, there's a photograph of 6 percher-on horses pulling a steel blade through February snow. Time equals 4 milliseconds greater than while crowds watch and money changes hands, and the future arrives much more slowly than anyone predicted.